9, 8.
You're watching The Experience, Comic Culture and Sales. Streaming live daily to Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter.
2, 1.
So this is where I'm supposed to do a cold open because, we get that vibe for the show going, and then we do the opening music, and then we get to the guest and stuff. And until about an hour ago, I forgot I was supposed to do today's interview. So don't really have a cold open. So with all the bad news we dealt with over the weekend, the worst news is you're stuck with me today. But I got a good guest, so stick around. Hey everybody, welcome to Talking Shop. Today we are honored to have our guest. He's somebody that I've known for a while now. I sat next to him at a free comic book day at the Comic Book Bug in Manhattan. Is that Manhattan Beach? Yeah, they had two locations. I forgot which one's which. Anyway, we sat next to each other, and I listened to him sell his book that weekend and was just in awe, and just continued to watch as he's put out one amazing science fiction book after another, and he's got another brand new one just hit now. So whether or not you know him from Eclipse, Port of Earth, The Lost City Explorers, Join the Future, Forever Forward, Metal Society, Breakout, Mindset, Beyond Real, or his brand new Dark Horse book, Kill All Immortals. If you don't know him by now, you should know him. Zack Kaplan.
Thank you very much, Dan. I remember that free comic book day as well. So,
yep, I just sat there watching you do that, thinking and forgetting to sell my own book because you were selling Eclipse at the time. And you had that great pitch about what happens if the sun becomes the enemy.
Yeah, I have a lot of fun. I have a lot of fun pitching at the table. Yeah, thank you very much.
So, so how did sci-fi become your thing? I mean, because that does seem to be what your wheelhouse. How did you come with sci-fi?
And I'd even say like Kill All Immortals is still like the genre cousin. Like it's still a supernatural. A cousin to, so it's not like I switched. It's still the umbrella of kind of sci-fi supernatural sort of thing. Yeah, I don't know. I've been asked this question a few times, and I think it really just comes back to like I grew up in the Midwest and like cornfields and all, and I just very much was that kind of kid that just kind of looked up at the sky and wondered like what else is out there. I was kind of like a bit of a dreamer, and I loved Spielbergian sci-fi stuff. I loved the darker stuff. I loved 2001, but I just loved thinking about the future, thinking about worlds and things that that weren't here with me, but maybe existed beyond or existed tomorrow. And just that kind of always stuck with me. And so I think obviously now that I've grown up, sometimes my imagination takes the darker side of things, and I'm imagining mind control or alien arrival in a more, darker, sinister way. But it's always kind of, for me, that kind of what if about a future or a world, or in this case, a secret world of immortality that we can discover. So, yeah.
So you grew up reading a lot of sci-fi?
I grew up reading and watching a lot. Yeah, I did. I mean, I read when I was reading comics back in the day. It was more like more bigger stuff. I didn't really discover creator-owned comics and more original stories until like my more like after college, when like it was more Vertigo kind of era. But when I was a kid, I would just more I would watch anything that was sci-fi. I mean, whether it was RoboCop or Blade Runner or whatever it was. I mean, like anything I could get my hands on that was sci-fi. Yeah, I'd watch it, or on television. I mean, I watched all the any TV show that was ever, all Star Trek. I watched every episode of Star Trek. I watched, things like Sliders, like any sci-fi that I could find, I would consume for sure.
Now, the one thing I've noticed, and before we get talking specific about books, you have where a lot of new writers, they come up and they find their little niche, they find their company that they just start creating with, and then they start to branch out a little bit. But I think of like Raven Gregory, and he found his home at Zenoscope, or Steve Niles really kind of dug in at IDW. You're all over the place. You were Top Cow, the Image, Dark Horse, Vault, Scout. Why are you purposely trying to spread out over as many publishers as possible?
Yes. Yeah. I feel that that's the way to do it these days for several reasons. I think that, and I kind of feel like when I look at some modern creators that I look up to, whether it's your Scott Snyders or your James Tynans or Rom V's. I mean, these are creators that are doing books at Image, Dark Horse, Boom, here, there, all over the place. So I feel like that's kind of that's just something that I kind of noticed and I've followed. I think it has a lot of advantages because you're getting the opportunity to meet all the readers who maybe are at Dark Horse or who at Vault or who are at Top Cow. You're getting to kind of go into different ponds. And I also think that for the most part, I mean, I'm at the point now where I'm trying to put out 3, 4, 5 books a year. And that's pretty much, I mean, I'm writing things now for the next 18 months to 2 years. So really, if you want to be putting out that level, that breadth of work, I find that most publishers want to put out 1 book a year with a creator. So just the fact that I want to put out that much content, it just helps to have relationships and connect with more than one publisher. Not to mention the sad reality that we live in tumultuous times in publishing, and there are many publishers that go bankrupt, have sorts of problems, changing of the guards, and so it helps as a creator to be constantly connecting and engaging with promising publishers. I look at publishers who are working with other creators that I admire and that I respect and putting out good books. And if I see that, that tells me that that's a publisher that I want to connect with, publishers that are passionate about the material and representing it. So yeah, I try to connect and get my work out there with several different publishers. Yeah, for sure.
All right, let's talk about Kill All Immortals.
Yeah.
It does feel a little bit outside of the sci-fi stuff you've been doing, but I do see the correlation. But let's start with, for anybody who hasn't read the book, what's your description of the book?
It's immortal Vikings. It's a family of Vikings that 1,000 years ago discovered some secret form of immortality, and now we join them present day. They are a modern banking empire, like something you would see out of Succession, a family-run entity that is barbaric and bloodthirsty, and clearly a metaphor for how cutthroat capitalism can be, and how billionaire families are not too different than immortals in the sense that they accumulate such wealth and power and never let it go and never die. And the daughter of this family is Frey, who you see on the cover, and she is the only daughter out of 4. She has 3 other brothers, and she's pretty much the black sheep of the family, removed from the business. And circumstances in the pilot push her to what has probably been a very long time coming challenge with the way her family acts and the way she's treated. And she ends up finding herself at odds with her family and seeking out the mystery of where their immortality comes from. And so it's a bit of a John Wick action series in the sense we've got some amazing fights of Vikings going head to head in Armani suits with Viking weapons and Viking haircuts. It's a bit of a kind of globe-trotting Lara Croft Uncharted sort of adventure series as we go looking for the mystery with her. And then it's, you know, it's a power struggle like Billions, like Succession, like Yellowstone, like any great kind of family drama like that. And it's very much a departure for me in the sense that it's my most action adventure series, most action series yet, my most violent series yet, and definitely a bit straying from the pure sci-fi that I've done so frequently. But I think that it's obviously got a lot of thematic qualities to it that I like to put into my work. I think it's got a very strong, interesting female character. I like to write female characters that are like kind of empowered and taking on, you know, massive challenges, whether it's like Join the Future or Metal Society. I've kind of I enjoy that kind of character, and Frey's complicated. You know, she's got a complex journey ahead of her. So it's been a lot of fun for me to kind of stretch a little bit and explore this world with her.
I'm a little fascinated by the Asvolds,
yeah.
Because you talked about them being bankers, but they are much more in the vein of the Medicis than the Rockefellers in that sense.
Yeah, that's true.
Can you give us kind of I mean, we know, I don't know if it's who the father is the twist, and you want to keep that quiet. But
it's been publicized. I mean, I'm happy to reveal it, but I would say, spoiler alert, if you're listening and you don't want to hear the reveal, I think this twist is also in some of the solicit copy. But if you don't want to hear it, then fast forward a minute or two or cut out here. But the one of the many twists is that it's Eric the Red, the infamous Viking explorer and barbarian, is our main character and his 4 adult children. So yeah, but they are a bit more Medici and in the sense that, you know, it's banking, but banking is kind of just a word for money and for you know, they clearly have their hands in media, in politics, in arms, in real estate, in everything. They're just clearly one of those families that lives in the shadows. I mean, there are like 80 families in the world that control half of the world's wealth. It's, you know, and so they're just kind of one of these families that you kind of, you know exists, but they're always kept private, but they kind of own everything and operate everything.
So is that how you found your way into the series? The idea of that these 80 families, and what happens if one of them happens to be immortal Vikings? Or how did this series come about?
I think I like to look at like tropes, kind of like I'll think about tropes that like mind control, and I'll think about like, oh, well, what is you know, the different interpretations of mind control, and how does mind control exist in our world today? And then that leads me to, we already have mind control on our phones in an app, and that's Mindset. You know, Report of Earth was, what if aliens didn't come to blow us up? They came in business. And so, yeah, it was me thinking about immortality and kind of how billionaires kind of feel like they're immortal already. Like they're there, they act like gods, they control everything behind the scenes. Like we're nothing to them, we're peons and they're everything. And then the children kind of grow up and become just like they rule next. And the kind of immortality just continues. And so it was kind of just there. And I thought about that, and I thought about wanting out. I thought about immortality is always kind of like, do you want immortality or do you want out of immortality? And, you know, that's a very kind of common plot line, I guess, you see with immortality. But I thought in this context, it felt fresh and new to think about being part of a immortal billionaire family and wanting out, not wanting any part of it. How hard it is to extradite yourself and remove yourself from such power and such brutality. And so it just became really interesting area to play with. And then, of course, I think Vikings got in there just because as I thought about it, it became more and more barbaric. And I just thought, if they're immortal, they're not modern, where would they come from? and I looked through history and landed on Vikings, and it just felt so cool and interesting to capture the barbarism of billionaire class and capitalism with a heritage that's 1,000 years old.
This is a little tiny bit off topic because it's not about the book itself, but you bring up you mentioned immortality and stuff. It does seem that in literature and in movies and TV, the idea of immortality has gotten this almost melancholy tie to it now. That, oh, you're going to lose all your family, you're going to lose all your loved ones. Nobody ever seems to approach immortality from the point of view of, yes, but I get to make new ones. And why do you think it is? Why do you think that seems to be the go-to for most writers is the melancholy side effect of immortality?
Well, I think we're human. And I think the idea is most of the time when we look at immortality, there's only two ways to look at immortality. You either look at it as someone who's not human, and then immortality is meaningless because you're just living forever and you can do whatever you want. And there's no consequence and there's no emotional attachment. And I actually think that perhaps that is the point of view of Frey's father, Eric the Red. I mean, his point of view is that we are gods. We are immortal. We live for that. We've lived for 1,000 years, and we'll live for 1,000 more. And we can do as we like. And I think that's not too uncommon from some billionaires who just feel entitled and superior to the common man. And so I think that they have no emotional attachment to their actions or their loved ones or anything. But I think that when you add that humanity to someone and then you give them immortality, they feel a conscience to what they're doing, and they feel heartbreak to pass by someone that they love. And I think that's very human and it's very relatable. I think it's just kind of something that we relate to. So I think that's probably why it's interesting again and again.
But do you think that if somebody were immortal, they would be able to maintain their humanity? You said Eric has kind of drifted away from that.
I think that is a complex aspect of it, and I actually think that our character here, Frey, suffers from that as well. I mean, when we meet her, she's removed herself from the family dynamics, and she doesn't want anything to do with the business. But she also finds herself feeling lost and trapped, and a bit like she can't maintain anything meaningful because even her love affairs are frivolous. They can't possibly be anything more than a passing fancy. And she can't bring herself to connect meaningfully to anyone or anything. And so, and then I think the interesting and really complex question of her journey is as she goes head to head with her family, she's using the very same tactics that they used to combat them. She's using her own violence, aggressive and barbaric tendencies to battle against them. So how do you not become the thing you hate as you battle it? And so she's becoming a bit more emotionally removed as she challenges them, and she finds that happening, and that's a challenge in and of itself. So I think it's obviously where godliness and humanity kind of intertwine. That gray area creates for a lot of kind of fun character drama, and I think that's something I had fun exploring here. I think obviously what makes up a character, every character, you've got characters like Lestat and different characters who have been immortal over different pop culture, and you've got like Highlander and stuff like that. And so there's different incarnations of this, but I think what we tried to do here is get into those questions and explore them enough so that Frey's journey at least felt unique.
Now, at this point, how old is Frey and her family? How long have they been immortal?
1,000 years. 1,000 years and change. Yeah, Eric the Red was right around the turn of the 1,000 years AD or so. And so when he had 4 adult children, I think it was I think the dates in the comic would be about 1,003 or so. So it's about 1,000 years and change that they've been around.
Okay. And just thinking this through, you said that part of what she's going to be doing is trying to figure out where the immortality comes from.
That's correct. It's it's got a bit of a mystery to it.
Now, is this because at this point she could kill her family and they just get back up again?
That is right. Yeah, they get cut, their wounds heal, they die, they get back up again, and they are immortal, and you can cut their heads off and they will grow back. And she does not know where the immortality comes from, and we'll come to discover why, but kind of the secret's been kept from her. And there's a bit of when, even though Vikings have a culture at times sometimes where women were given more respect and allowance, this is still 1,000 years ago, and this family, a family of a very machismo man and 3 male sons, Frey was kept from a lot of this, including the secret. And so she's been given this gift, and over the course of her journey, some of the mystery unfolds and some of the memories come back, but she does not know when we join the story in the beginning how the immortality happens. So we get to go on this kind of very fun globe-trotting adventure to unlock the mysteries of our family and find out what it is. And I dare say, I think readers will be blown away in the most wonderful way by some of the secrets and reveals that we have coming. So I'm really excited. It all hits in the first arc here. So yeah.
Now, when I read it, the use of the name Frey and Thor made me think that we were looking at the North pantheon here, that we were looking at Odin was going to be the family head. Now, are these the names of Eric the Red's actual children from history?
They are. Yeah, it is Frey. It is Thorvald and Thorstein and Leif. And we all know Leif. Yeah, we all know Leif, son of Ericsson. But no one, I don't think, knows the other 3. But they are Thorvald, and we've shortened it to Thor. And Thor, since there were 2 Thors, we've shortened it to Stein and Thor. And then Frey, and that was Eric the Red's only daughter.
I don't think I ever made the connection between Eric the Red and Leif Erikson, but it makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, you the creative team you've put together for this.
Yeah.
You've got is it Fico?
Fico Ossio. Yeah.
Ossio and Thiago Rocha. First thing, I love the name Thiago.
It's a great name.
Such a cool name.
Yeah.
It makes me think of Othello.
Yeah.
Iago. Yeah. But so how did you get together with this creative team?
I had seen Fico's work online. Absolutely loved it. We'd spent a couple of years talking about something that we wanted to do together. And I knew that he actually had this really gritty, frenetic side to his very versatile arsenal in art. And I approached him with this idea and said, I think this would be perfect for this kind of element that I had not seen him employ too much in comics. He had done some different kind of things, and he had done some DC stuff that was a little similar to this, but this was really pushing it. And I thought he would absolutely knock it out of the park. We had kind of talked about working together, and so he was all in on it. So he has a world tree tattoo. He's a Viking at heart himself, and so even though he's from South America, and so we teamed up. Initially, we had Jordi Belair on the series as our colorist, and sadly, circumstances intervened, and we weren't able to work that out. I'd worked with Thiago Rocha on The Midnight, which is a graphic novel that's coming out in October with the synthwave band The Midnight, and I was just floored by Thiago's work. He's absolutely amazing, and I immediately said, "Would you like to come draw some bloodthirsty Vikings with us?" And he was all in, and he and Fico just make such a killer team. It's so modern and elevated and gritty. I just love the noir feeling at times, or like, you know, sometimes they get to Iceland and it's like dead with the kind of oversaturated tones. It makes you feel like there's something wrong underneath it all. And then the action sequences that they did. I mean, Fico's got such frenetic layouts. The action stuff really comes to life. And the first issue is just the tip of the iceberg. I mean, the action gets ratcheted up every single issue. It's really it's really gonna be one of the best action comics on the stands this summer. I cannot wait for readers to check out more of it.
So tell me more about the series going on. I mean, how long is it planned for? That type of stuff.
Yeah, it's a question we're having a lot of fun looking at right now. When we launched it and announced it, we left it open. We kind of said this is not a mini series. It's not yet fully and ongoing, but we have ambitions, and we just kind of said this is a series, and we have 5 issues for the first arc, and issue 1 really kind of exceeded our expectations. It was just fantastic amount of energy. The reviews have been crazy good. There's been a lot of buzz online. We're hearing right now when we're evaluating that it might actually be sold out or almost sold out. And we definitely want more number 1. So we're exploring what we're going to do there. And so, yeah, it's too soon to say for certain if Kill All Immortals will be living on and indulging in some more immortality, but I'm optimistic. I'm optimistic that we might be able to do some more of this. So it seems that was my hope all along. I have more to tell with this story. Fico has more to tell, and we're just waiting to be certain of it. But yeah, that's our hope.
Now, when I read a book like this, I tend to distrust everybody in the story. There's nobody that I look at going, oh, that's the honest person. So tell me about the journalist. Tell me about the guy Frey's dating.
Frey is found herself in a fleeting tryst and a romantic involvement with a BBC journalist. And it seems like a very unlikely pair at first, until you, I at least hope, start to realize that Frey is kind of deep down looking for some provocation in her life. And I think she likes that he speaks truth. And this journalist is a kind of push the boundaries sort of journalist. He's been a bit of a war correspondent, and he's the kind of tell it like it is, speak truth to power sort of guy. And it's kind of uncertain how their paths have crossed, but he seems to have been doing a story on the family, and even though that's been dropped now, they're involved. And yeah, it's a very uncertain, uneasy foundation. But that's really all I can say about it. Obviously, there's a lot more going on in the story, but I'll leave it as it is. But yeah, I think what was interesting is to take the element of journalism and news and kind of interject it into Frey's world and the story and kind of how that plays out. And it kind of seems like, it is a bit of a catalyst, in terms of, at least for Frey, to be with someone for the first time who is making her think about her ideals. And so we're not certain if this is a couple that love each other, but I think that Frey is feeling provoked in a way that she hasn't before. And that leads to some things. So yeah, but I mean, it's a power struggle. So I will just leave it at that and let readers experience more as it goes.
All right. So why should readers pick this up? What is it that's going to make them go, oh, yeah, that's the book I want?
It's a great question. I mean, I think what we're hoping to bring readers is some amazing action, and some great style, And underneath all that, I think that's what readers will come for. I think readers will come for a really stylized, high concept action series. We've got Immortal Vikings fighting John Wick style. So just right there, it's a lot of fun. And I'm hoping readers will stay for Frey Aswald, who we're hoping is an Erica Slaughter kind of character, someone that really readers connect with, and they realize there's actually a lot of depth and complexity, and they kind of go, oh, I really like this character, and she's up against some crazy stuff, and I really can't wait to see how she handles it, and I really want to go with her on this ride. Obviously, we've got great secrets. We've got fantastic twists and turns. So I think that if you're looking for something that keeps you on the edge of your seat, you're looking for something that hits you again and again with cliffhangers and with twists and gives you a real ride, Kill All Immortals will deliver on all of that. But I think at the end, maybe it will, like most of my comics, make people think just a little bit. I think that you'd kind of maybe want to have a couple conversations about billionaires or immortality or some of the topics. And I think I love to see stories that make me think and make me want to have conversations about them. So I try to inject a little bit of that into my stories.
Why do you think, and this, I mean, I know that the audiences tend to be cyclical, where they fall in love with this thing for a while, then they fall in love with that thing for a while. Like with horror, we go to vampires, then we go to zombies, and it's werewolves, and then it's witches, and then back to vampires. But there does seem to be a big draw right now to very violent characters. I think about John Wick, you mentioned. I think of Jack Reacher, who's really popular right now. Characters like that. And I think Frey kind of falls in that category too, of a character that can be almost uber violent, to the point of over the top. And readers and fans seem to be loving that right now. Why do you think that is what's getting people's attention?
It's a great question. I think it's because violence is honest. There's no doubt about violence. And we live in a world where truth is dead, where we're permeated with manipulation and misinformation, and we don't know what to believe, and we don't know who to trust. And every conversation, like you said, you don't trust anybody in this story or any story. But you know what? When someone comes at you with a weapon, you trust them. They're trying to kill you. And it's the most honest thing someone can do is try to kill you directly versus behind your back. And so I think that when Frey sees this type of family, which we all know that there are families in this world that control things and manipulate the power strings and do these sort of dastardly things behind the scenes and do whatever they want just for their own whims and for their own ambitions and their own power hungry dynamics. When you see something like that, it goes against your ideals. I mean, maybe there's some people listening that are like, yay, but generally speaking, I think we all don't like that sort of thing. And so when you hear a character like a John Wick that says, you mess with the wrong guy, I'm going to do what every reader out there wishes they could do, which is confront this stuff with total honesty, with total unabashed violence. I think it's a very much a wish fulfillment thing. We all feel manipulated and pushed around from time to time in our lives, no matter what. And I think that we all play the game of life. And Frey is not going to do that. She's going to grab some axes and she's going to say, let's go. And so I think that we admire that and we like the honesty, and it's a lot of wish fulfillment for us. And so, yeah, I think that's what I'm bringing to a character like this anyway, is to give readers that chance.
That is an amazing answer, because I never thought about it that way. But I mean, you look at a character like Wolverine, and there's an honesty to him.
Totally, he's the honest. That's what he's there for against someone like Cyclops. Cyclops is who can't actually see any scenario for what it is. No pun intended. But Cyclops always sees it completely skewed one way or the other way. Either it's over heroic or it's a complete failure, but he only can see the righteousness or the failure of a situation. And Wolverine is a truth character, and Wolverine's there to say, listen, bub, this is what's really going on. And Wolverine knows a bad guy when he sees it, and he pulls out his blades and he says, let's go. And he doesn't mess around. Wolverine's he's always just going to tell it like it is. We love characters like that. So yeah, I think it's very much that's why we respect it.
I think that also taps into a lot of what pulp characters really connect with people.
Pulp,
pulp, yeah, like Sam Spade, stuff like that. Because there's a certain amount of brutal truth to these characters.
But I think the difference in where the evolution is in our times, I mean, the 1940s and 50s, where you had noir being so popular, and I think any time where you see a resurgence of that, like the 1970s or so, like it's with All the President's Men or Conversation or things like that, it's always that's always about exposing the truth. The way you take down corruption and villainy in the 40s and the 50s, or in the late 40s, early 50s, but in the film noir period or in the 70s, the way you take down villainy is by exposing the truth. We know now today that does not take down villainy. You cannot exposing the truth is meaningless in today's era, in today's world. And so when you say, well, how do you take down the bad guys if you can't expose the truth? In come the violent characters and actually maybe that was a bit more of the 80s. I think you saw probably some more violent characters in the 80s who kind of stepped forward and said, mess with me, here's what you get. So it's cyclical, but yeah, I think that's where we like these kind of characters. And look, this is my most violent book. I mean, I've written some much more, thriller, detective, noir sorts of characters. I mean, even Rosa Gentry in Metal Society is MMA boxing up against a robot, but it's not this level of blood splatter and wanton violence. But I think that Kill All Immortals, the violence is not gratuitous. I actually think when you pick this up, if you're listening or if you've read it, it's not gratuitous. It's actually it's character. Like it's not like we rip a guy in half just for fun. Like it's the axe hits somebody because the guy who threw it is barbaric. It's a barbaric result. You go, what I just witnessed, blood spraying in this hallway, is indicative of the characters and their barbarism. That's where it comes from. So it fits very much.
We have a question from Mr. Towers, but I think there's already an answer going. But since releasing the book, have you been approached by any studio to create a new and improved Highlander? Now, we know that there's a new Highlander in the works right now.
Yes.
With Henry Cavill as the Highlander and Chad Stahelski, or however you pronounce his name, from John Wick, actually leading it. So.
Sounds great. No, I've not been approached in any way to participate in Highlander.
But you do have something in progress, right? Port of Earth?
I have a couple things in film and TV development. Port of Earth is in film and TV development. We just announced that Mindset is in development with Don Cheadle's company, Radical Act, and a studio named Boat Rocker. And I have a couple other things that have not been announced that are in development. So
nice.
Yes.
So somebody figured out they should just make Eclipse yet, or?
Yeah, no comment. But I mean, you'll know as soon as something concrete happens. I'm always excited to get that kind of stuff out there. But the film and TV development, I'm very fortunate and happy. I've had a number of my projects picked up for adaptation, but it's a process. I mean, putting these things together on the Hollywood side and then getting to the point where they're announced and shared, it takes time. So, I'm here to make great comics. I'm on Kill All Immortals is my 10th comic. I'm just excited to pour my heart into this stuff. It's exciting to see some of the film and TV stuff unfold, and I'll share more when I know it.
Yeah. I think that's the one thing that people don't realize, that even when things are announced like that, it's still far away from actually happening. I mean, so many things get put into the pipeline and tried out, and they just see how far they go. But, getting it into the pipeline is the first step. So,
I mean, getting something greenlit for television and actually being ordered to series, that is the step that we're all hoping for, and that's an exciting thing. And that is different than something being picked up to be developed, and it's a journey. And so, I'm hopeful that one day I'll see one or many of my projects get to that point. But for now, I have many projects in development, and time will tell.
Yeah, you get that first one in there and it's a hit, then the rest just happen.
It's like anything, it's like anything, I was fortunate enough to get a chance to do Eclipse with Top Cow, and that was my first comic, and it went very well. And now I'm, done many of them. Eclipse was also the first one that I was able to sell for adaptation, and many have followed, after that. And so, I'm hopeful that I would love to have one land on the air, because I believe that if that happened, many would follow. But the first door, getting over that first, every mountain leads to another mountain, and you have to get over that first mountain before it can happen again and again, and each mountain is different. So I'm climbing and working at it, and we'll see. But in the meantime, I'm having an amazing time making great comics like this, and seeing readers respond to it. It's been an absolute dream, making comics like Kill All Immortals and Beyond Real and The Midnight and all this stuff. Dark Empty Void, which is a new one with Mad Cave coming out in just a couple months in September. Like, I'm having a lot of fun making stories that are all different, sci-fi, cosmic horror, and here's supernatural action thriller. It's all very different stuff. And so it's great.
Now, before the show started, I promised somebody I would ask you a question.
Okay.
So Jenna wants to know, what's your favorite sandwich and soup?
I feel like I was asked this question once before by someone. Was it Jenna? I don't know.
Might have been. She said she asks all interviews that question.
Yeah, I feel like I've been asked what my favorite sandwich is. Jenna, it was me. All right, there you go.
But see, now she can tell if it's the same answer.
What did I say then? I don't remember. I don't remember what I said. I like a good corned beef. I think maybe I might have said corned beef. That's a pretty good one. Soup. Soup. I like a good pho. Good Vietnamese pho is really delicious, or maybe ramen. I like that sort of wheelhouse for a soup. Yeah.
So does a beef dip count as soup and a sandwich?
What? Which one?
Does a beef dip count as soup and a sandwich with the dip?
Yeah, of course that counts.
Yeah, because that's a beef consomme almost.
Yeah.
Totally derailed.
Yes, it was the same-ish answers. Yeah. Yes.
So you're consistent, see?
Yes. Honest. I'm honest.
So what do you want to do next? I mean, you're doing a lot of creator-owned stuff. You have any interest in taking on any of like Marvel or DC's characters? Or
I would love to. Yeah, I would love to. I would love to do Marvel and DC. I would love to do Star Wars. I'd love to do something like Blade Runner or something like Dune that made a lot of sense and is sci-fi and in my wheelhouse. Absolutely, would love to. But it has to be the right project, and those are the especially something like Marvel or DC. It's on them.
Do you have a character at one of those companies that's just like instant? They said, "Would you like to do?" And you, yes.
Oh yeah, probably. I mean, I think like if DC said, "We'll do anything with you. What do you want to do?" I'd probably say, "Let me play in the Green Lantern universe." I feel like that would be absolutely where I would want to play around in. although, you know, I do like some noir stuff, so something in the Batman in Gotham would be fun too. But I think I like what Tom King has kind of done in the sense that he's taken a lot of characters and kind of looked in them and kind of contained stories. I think that that's a really kind of cool way to approach characters. As far as Marvel, I don't know. I actually love Wolverine. I grew up on Wolverine and absolutely just loved. I mean, he was my favorite character growing up in terms of like when I was a kid, and I loved the X-Men. But they're not so much sci-fi, but I would have a lot of fun playing around with them. But yeah, I mean, I definitely anything that's near sci-fi or fun like that. I like cerebral characters like Doctor Strange sort of characters who kind of like, you know, overthink things and have to feel things through. I kind of like that kind of stuff and that kind of imaginative landscape. But yeah, I mean, what's next for me is a ton more of creator-owned books. I mean, in addition to the 4 that are coming out this year, I have another 5 or so that will be out by the end of next year. So I'm continuing just to work with great artists and trying to stretch as a storyteller and try different things and different types of stories and different styles and having a lot of fun doing it. So I'm excited to continue to put out great books.
With all these different titles, is there any common thread running through some of them? Any way to connect them?
Yeah, I think that in addition to being high concept sci-fi and supernatural fare, I think they all look at characters who are confronting a world that has gone mad in some way and what to do about it. I think that is kind of a common theme in most of my stories is a character who is trying to maintain their morality and ideals and decide how to take on the fate of the future in a world that has gone mad.
Okay. Jay says, always a lantern, never an arrow. Green Arrow. I'm the guy that wants to write Green Arrow.
I'll let you do that, Dan. You can have Green Arrow.
Works for me. So, all right. Why comics? As a guy who wants to write sci-fi, you could jump into prose. I mean, that's
I guess
why
so.
comics?
I mean, the two things I love about comics is one, I love the collaborative experience with artists, and I love seeing some of these ideas come to life visually. And sure, I mean, prose and fiction is fantastic, and it allows a reader to use their imagination. But I love to present a piece of artwork and a world to step into and say that this is specifically what the world looks like. And I think you can amaze and dazzle readers equally with that sort of possibility, especially with the use of imaginative layouts that kind of emotionally are able to drive home certain aspects of the story page to page. So I really love the collaborative experience of comic making. And then I really love the immediate connection that the comics and the comics community has with readers and the creators. And I guess there is some of a relationship with novelists and readers, but I find that the comic culture of like going to conventions and shops and engaging with creators and it's just there's just such an immediacy and a connection that I really value and appreciate. I really just think it's great. So I there's nothing better than that for me in comics.
All right, I'm going to put you on the spot question.
These have not been put me on the spot questions so far. These are all
the easy ones.
Okay.
One of the great things about being in comics is with conventions and stuff like that, we get the opportunity to meet the idols that we grew up with. You know, I found myself having dinner with Michael Golden one night, which was just mind blowing, or sitting in somebody's backyard chatting with Bernie Wrightson. It's like these are the experiences we get as creators to meet the older guard. So if you've given that opportunity to meet someone, you can walk up and hand them one of your books and say, you know, hey, I just wanted to meet you today. And you give them one of your graphic novels, one of your trades. Which one do you give them? What's that one?
Oh, which one do I give them?
Yeah, what's the one that's this is Zack Kaplan in a nutshell right there.
I think I'll answer it. Although I do think I'll caveat it by saying I think it does depend on which creator I'm giving something to.
Okay.
I think there is a possibility that I would give different creators different books. But I think that it could change from time to time. Certainly when Beyond Real and Kill All Immortals are collected, they're viable contenders for me. But I think if I look at the 8 books prior, for me, Mindset is something that I'm very proud of. I'm very proud of the way that I was able to John Pearson and I to collaborate in such a way. I think that the artwork is absolutely stunning. And I think that the way the artwork and the story kind of intermingle, we really geeked out, the two of us, on every single page and on how we could amplify the storytelling and the narrative and the art and the character constantly to kind of enhance the story. And I'm really proud of the results of that book. And I think that book, it's very different than Kill All Immortals because Mindset is this noir thriller, and I have different kinds of, I think, sides of my personality and my narrative gambit, but the noir thriller side of me, Mindset just absolutely encapsulates it for me in terms of where I live and kind of a sci-fi noir thriller. That one really hit. And so I'm very proud of that book, and I definitely love sharing that book.
Okay. So since it came up, who's the person or who are the people that you've gotten to meet that you just dream come true type of thing?
I absolutely love Rick Remender's writing in his books. And I have gone up to him, I think, once or twice and introduced myself, and I think given him a copy of Mindset at the last time I met him, and gushed over his pantheon of work. I think that he's just absolutely brilliant. I think I own almost everything of his, and yeah. Who else? I mean, you're catching me I got to panel with Brian Bendis, and then I've met Brian Bendis a couple times, and I think that's been a real. And the fact that Brian Bendis, says hi to me from time to time, that's pretty amazing, because such a fantastic storyteller, and I look up to someone like that. I've not met Brian K. Vaughan. I'd absolutely love to meet Brian K. Vaughan. Why the Last Man was a big one for me in terms of sci-fi adventure. So I would love to meet Brian, but yeah, I'm sure there's a few more.
It's funny that you said Rick Remender, because I forget that I've been in the industry longer than you, because I think of Rick and
as a newcomer. He's a newcomer.
I think of him as an inker first, because when I met him through Kieran Dwyer, and he was inking Kieran. So so I always think of Rick as an inker first.
Right.
And then I have to stop, go, no, he's written a lot of really good things.
Yeah.
But it's like Jimmy Palmiotti is another one that, he's now known for writing and stuff.
Yeah.
But he was Quesada's inker.
Yeah. I think that I really admire long form storytelling a lot, and so that's something that really stands out to me when I find someone like that. I've never met Ed Brubaker. I'd really love to meet Ed Brubaker. I think that's another. But Rick. I mean, I was absolutely inspired by his work, and I think prior to getting into comics, I had always thought about writing a comic, but really just when you find a writer that you just love everything that they do, and I think I even like Devolution, which was a Remender. Yeah, and when you just like even this little guy over here, I absolutely love this one. You just kind of everyone's got different ones, but yeah, Remender was definitely a solid one for me.
Devolution was from Dynamite, right? When they were doing a few creator-owned books.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
I remember that. So, all right, so we're going to wrap this up, but Kill All Immortals is in stores now. And then you have another book that's about to come out or is out?
Yeah, I have quite a busy next few months coming up. Kill All Immortals issue 1 just came out. If you are excited by it, you should order issue 2, which is an FOC today. Final order cutoff for issue 2. It's a 5-issue series right now, but we are very optimistic there will be more. In August, Beyond Real is collected into trade paperback. In September, I have a new series called Dark Empty Void with Mad Cave. It's with artist Chris Sheehan, Francisco Segala, and Ann World. It's basically an Aliens Meets Annihilation cosmic horror series about black holes. And then in October, I have a book with one of the largest synthwave bands in the world. They're The Midnight, and the book is a Dark Horse graphic novel called The Midnight Shadows. If you like Tron and Blade Runner and kind of cyberpunk adventures, you will love it. Stephen Thompson, Janoy Lindsay are the artists. Thiago Rocha is the colorist. DC Hopkins, the letterer. It's another amazing book, and it comes out fully collected. So I've got several things coming out, and definitely check them all out. And it's going to be a busy end of the summer and fall for me.
Right, man. Well, I wish you best of luck with all of it.
Thank you, Dan.
I have been a fan of your writing since Eclipse, and I picked it up that day at the Free Comic Day, and I just love seeing all these books coming out from you. So keep it up, man.
Thank you very much. It means a lot, especially since you saw me at the beginning. So much appreciated.
All right, guys. Thank you for tuning in. Stick around for Comics Collectibles coming up next, and we'll see you all soon. Good night, everybody.
Did you know that Arthur, King of the Britons in Monty Python and the Holy Grail was played by a famous Graham? Check out another famous Graham by following our Instagram.